Now we come to The Hills Have Eyes, which is a film that I both like and dislike at the same time. As a remake, it isn't that great or grand in my opinion, but as a horror film itself, I think it's pretty good. Even though Wes Craven was involved with this film, I think it just kind of fell short of what I would actually want to see. Uh, but seeing Ted Levine in it was a nice surprise. For those of you who don't know, he's from recently from Monk, and he was also in Silence of the Lambs. It was too bad to see that he wasn't around too long in this film. But the reason I still enjoy the film actually is writer director Alexander Aja or Aja, depends on how you want to pronounce it. Because I was a huge fan of his film High Tension, so I respected him for trying to get into this film. Therefore, I actually do watch it. And if you have seen my review of The Hills Have Eyes 2, it's which is another one that's up in the air that the original is better than the sequel. So watch this one. You can skip the second one. Next up, My Bloody Valentine 3D. I'm not going to talk a whole lot on this one. You have to really see the movie to let it speak for itself, but this is a film that I was very uneasy about because I never really was a huge fan of the original until recent years. Um, so I can't say this is a good remake. It is, like I said, a pretty good film. Um, the best thing about actually seeing this movie was seeing it in theaters in 3D. The 3D version that you can get on Blu-ray, and I think it's on DVD, is alright, but doesn't hold up to anything of what we saw in the theaters. This next film is one I was actually surprised to see on the list, Cat People. And the reason I say I was surprised is because not a lot of people realize that this was a remake. I do think this version of the film with Malcolm McDowell is a little better than the original, but only because I saw this version of the film first. But with the gap between the years of the two films, I think it holds up very well on its own and can, even though it is a remake, you don't really have to think of it as that way. But no matter what I think about either films, these are also one of those films that are acquired taste and will not be for everybody. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. This is another one that I kind of have mixed feelings about. I do own a couple copies of it because I do think it is a pretty good film and Arlie Ermey's fucking great in it. But the film has Michael Bay's hands in it, and when he is involved with the film, there are going to be many elements that I'm not a fan of, and that leans more to like the second Leatherface mask that you see in the film, because that was his idea from articles I read. I'd rather the character of Leatherface wear the same mask throughout the entire film, even though he had multiple ones in the original, than than the ridiculous second mask that you see that he's made toward the end of the film. But then again, maybe that's just me and I'm a little picky. Now, the next one that was on his list was Friday the 13th remake. Now, I'm not going to speak on this film because anyone who's watched my videos before know my feelings on this film. In fact, I made 2 videos about it, and the movie is awful, so if you want to know my full feelings on it, watch those videos, and so we're going to move on. Next movie is The Ring. This is a film that really started the American trend of remaking Asian films. Now, this is one where I think the American remake is better than the original. And what I mean by that is they are both identical films, but the American version has creepier visuals and atmosphere. So in my thought, that puts it on the top of the list of these movies. Now, where the Japanese take back the lead with the horror franchise is in the sequels. The American version of The Ring 2 was fucking awful. I refuse to watch that movie again. But if you watch the original sequels, you'll love them. And I highly recommend Rasen, which translates into The Spiral, which is also a direct sequel to the original Japanese Ring. But I think you can only get that on DVD here in the States in the anthology box set. So if you really want to see it, check it out. Great flick. Now let's talk about King Kong. Now I'm going to center this comment more around the Peter Jackson version as opposed to the John Gillerman version with Jeff Bridges, because Peter Jackson's version was a direct remake of the original, even though the other one was good. And even with this one, I'm not a huge Peter Jackson, like Lord of the Rings fan. I prefer his older films like Bad Taste, Dead Alive, or even The Frighteners. But I have to say, what he made with King Kong remake was a great film and a very faithful remake. I do think he could have made just as good a film if the film had been a little shorter, but it's okay in my opinion. And if you have the patience and time to sit through a 3-hour movie, then this is a remake that you will love, especially if you love the original. And that brings me to the king of all remade films, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Which, funny in itself, the original movie itself is kind of a version of the book, The Puppet Masters. But the Invasion of the Body Snatchers itself has been remade so many fucking times that I've lost count. There are only 3 official remakes that are credited to this film, and that include the 2007 remake with Nicole Kidman. But there are tons upon tons of others that are less known, including one that I won't mention the name because I know the people that made it watch my videos from time to time, and it came out direct to DVD only weeks before the recent remake hit theaters. And the reason I'm not going to talk about any one remake in particular is because all these remakes have one thing in common. They're all really, really bad. But if I had to pick one that I would watch over and over and over again, it would have to be the 93 Body Snatchers or the 78 Body Snatchers. But the original 56 version is still the best in my opinion. Well, that about covers the list. I hope you all enjoyed the video. As you can see, remakes are hit and miss all over the place, so which is why I prefer to leave movies like that alone. Why remake something that's already fine? Now, for those of you out watching this who watch my channel, my normal reviews will be back shortly. By the end of the year, there'll be at least 2 more installments of the weekend movie review, and the films we'll be reviewing on those are The Fourth Kind and Law Abiding Citizen. There might be a Blu-ray DVD rundown or 2 in there as well. And stay tuned by the end of the year for my 2009 closing video, The Best and Worst of 2009. And after the first year, I'll be back in full swing, and to start things off will be the launch of the second Grindhouse Redux video. So thanks for watching, and check back for more.